Is it Thursday? So hard to keep track of the days anymore. Well, Thursdays is weekly wildflower report day, so we better get over to Hubbard Valley. Let's go see what's blooming. Wild Canadian ginger is emerging from the ground. How we know it is wild ginger is by these fuzzy heart-shaped leaves that come up out of the ground in pairs. This isn't the same as culinary ginger. They're not even in the same family. But what's cool about this plant is its flower. So you can see that the flower is actually down low under the leaves. And if we look over here, we can see this kind of oddly shaped maroon flower that's sitting on the ground. And it is perfectly positioned and colored to attract carrion flies to it so that the carrion flies can help with pollination. So the red color attracts them because it resembles meat, and the positioning is down low so that some of these insects, as they're just emerging from the ground, will find it pretty easily. So here is the return of the squirrel corn. We've seen this a couple times the last few weeks, but it is now fully in bloom. You can see those heart-shaped flowers. And if you remember from previous wildflower reports, we discussed how squirrel corn is in the same family as those Dutchman's breeches and also the garden variety plant bleeding heart, which is the Dicentra family. And the flowers here on the squirrel corn resemble the bleeding heart much more so than the Dutchman's breeches did. The name squirrel corn comes from the fact that on its roots are these little tubers that resemble pieces of corn. This small flower often goes unnoticed because of its size. It grows to be about 4 to 8 inches tall. It's a tiny flower head. It's probably no more than a half-inch across. It's called Dwarf Gingseng. When you do find it, you can identify it by looking at the leaf arrangement on the stem. So this one has what we call a whorl of leaves. So the leaves are attached around the main stem in a circular fashion. And then each of the leaves is further divided into leaflets. So we can see on this one, there are 5, although 2 of those are pretty small. And on this one back here, we see 3. It'll get a little cluster of yellow berries on it once it's pollinated and the fruit forms. The little flower head itself, if you can see, each flower has 5 petals. Now this is a relative of medicinal Asian ginseng but does not have the same medicinal properties that that has, and therefore should be avoided by collectors, as all wildflowers should be avoided by collectors, especially and particularly those on public lands. We would like to preserve our wildflowers for everyone to see. Someone asked me recently, how many different names can you give to little white flowers on the forest floor? And I said, as many as it takes. So this one is called Rue-anemone. Yet another little white flower on the forest floor. It's also sometimes known as windflower, because as you can see, when the wind blows here, it just kind of sways in the wind. The Rue-anemone is probably easiest to identify by looking at its leaf arrangement, which if you look closely here, you've got two leaves that are opposite one another on the main stem, and then each of those leaves have 3 leaflets, kind of shallowly lobed. They can have just one flower atop a stalk, or it can be branched and you can have multiples. This one has 3 flower heads. That one has 3 flower heads. So there can be more. One of the interesting things to note about this flower is that it produces no nectar. So I guess one of the benefits of looking like all of the other white flowers on the forest floor is that you can still attract insects to you in order to be pollinated, yet have to offer no rewards. So here we have our large white-flowered Trillium in full bloom. They look amazing. There are so many scattered about the trails and hillsides here at Hubbard Valley, and many that are just waiting to open up. So hopefully you'll get a chance in the coming weeks to come and look for yourself at this amazing, spectacular site before they fade away. I'm not sure if you know, but the Trillium is our state wildflower. And if you wondered why it was called Trillium, it's because Trilliums do everything in 3s. So if we look here at an individual flower, you can see that they have 3 leaves, they have 3 petals, and they also have 3 sepals, which are these green things right here. Those protect the flower bud as it develops. So tri meaning 3 and Trillium. At one time in Ohio, there were 8 different species of Trillium that could be found. Now one of those, called a nodding Trillium, no longer exists in Ohio. So it's what we call extirpated, meaning it no longer occurs here in our state, but it does occur elsewhere, so it's not extinct. The remaining 7, of those remaining 7, we have 4 that occur here at Hubbard Valley, which makes Hubbard Valley somewhat unique. You can find Trilliums in many different parks, but there aren't many parks that you can find 4 different species in the same area. So as the weeks go on, the next couple of weeks, we'll visit each of those 4 species of Trillium. We've already seen our large white flowered, so that leaves 3 more.